I'm not going to deny it. I was not the target audience for Queenie when it was released in 2013. I was 21 at the time, I believe. But I've been reading Jacqueline Wilson books since I was 8 years old, and I will continue to read her books. And Queenie I read pretty quickly after it was released, and I have to say I actually feel very fondly of this one. And that's unusual because, well, it's partly unusual because this is slightly one of her historic fictions. It's set in the 1950s, and usually I prefer her contemporary fiction. I don't know why, I just find that I always have. Aside from the Lottie Project, I think her contemporary fiction excels significantly more than her historical fiction. But Queenie, I just thought was so sweet and so lovely, and I'll read the description from Amazon, which I think gives a fairly accurate overview without providing any spoilers. I will not spoil anything for you. It's a lovely story, though. It's very sweet, obviously illustrated by Nick Sherratt, and it has one of my favourite Jacqueline Wilson book covers. It's wonderful. Mainly because I love the colour scheme and I love the cat. So, the description from Amazon is as follows. It's 1953, the year Elizabeth is to be crowned Queen of England. Elsie Kettle can't wait to go to London to see the celebrations on Coronation Day. Elsie lives with her nan. Her mum works as a showgirl, so she's not around very often. Spirited and imaginative, but often lonely, Elsie longs for a best friend. Luckily, she and Nan are very close. Elsie just wishes she was allowed a cat to keep her company sometimes. Then tragedy strikes. Nan and Elsie both fall ill with tuberculosis, and Elsie finds herself whisked away to the children's ward of the hospital. Confined to bed for months on end, Elsie finds it very hard to adapt to the hospital's strict regime. But she invents astonishing ways of entertaining the other children on the ward, and for the first time finds herself surrounded by true friends, including Queenie, the hospital's majestic white cat. The fact that she lives with her nan, I think, is lovely, because Jacqueline Wilson's books always speak directly to the child. They are designed to be relatable to the readers, maybe not to the masses, but to the children who feel like they are perhaps alone in the world, or one of few. So she'll write books to people who are in foster homes, who are child carers. In this case, it's about a young girl, Elsie, who lives with her nan. And here we have somebody who readers can relate to and feel like would understand them, because a lot of children do live with their grandparents for one reason or another, but it's still considered unusual or abnormal, and it's something about which they could feel, I guess, quite nervous when they mention it. They could feel embarrassed by it or ashamed by it for reasons that only the child's mind can understand. And I love the fact that Elsie lives with her nan, because it makes her that little bit different to your usual fictional character. I love the fact that it's set in the 50s, around the coronation of Queen Elizabeth. It gives it a really beautiful regal sense. It's very easy to become absorbed in that era in this book. It feels very realistic. You feel like you're there. I can feel the hype of the coronation, which is great fun to experience in one of Jacqueline Wilson's books, because she's enjoying this through the child's eyes, and it's all magic and, you know, beautiful queens and princesses, and it's a beautiful world. And I can only imagine what it would have been like to have been a child in 1953, or at least a child well off with the ability to get excited about that sort of thing. The other thing that makes this relatable or comforting to a lot of readers is the fact that it is largely set in a hospital. And many, many children are in children's wards every single day, and this is a bit of a comfort if they're feeling alone or if they don't know what to do or how to act. As the description said there, Elsie does, you know, start to talk to the other children on the ward, specifically the younger children, making them feel better, reading to them, things like that. And I feel like it could give children in hospital who are reading this book a little bit more confidence to maybe join in with the arranged activities, or just talk to their neighbouring child, or just become involved or share or make new friends. And I think that's really important, and that's a beautiful thing. I've been on a children's ward, I think, twice in my life. And I don't think either time I talked to anybody. I really could have done with this book at that time. Granted, I was 4 at one point and 15 at the other. The cat is a lovely character. It's a cat. I'm cat mad, cat crazy. Love that aspect. I love the name Queenie. I think that's beautiful. The descriptions of the cat are particularly gorgeous. There is one character in this, there's a nurse who is not very nice, and I did want to punch her several times. She reminds me of a nurse I once met who said something very nasty about me while she thought I was asleep under the covers. So again, not something that children may be able to relate to, because while nurses are hailed as being these saints who are there to help you, they're still human beings and they still can be nasty. And if a child comes up against a nasty nurse, then hopefully Elsie's journey will make them realise that, it will pass, the nurse will go away, you'll be fine, eventually. This is a lovely book. It's, how many pages is it according to Amazon? 416, so it's quite a chunky book compared to some of her earlier ones. I feel like, I don't know if it's just Wilson's change in writing style, an increasing complexity of her stories, or perhaps demands from the publisher. But if you compare her earlier books to her books over the last 10 years, they're a lot thicker. And they are, I think, a lot more detailed. I feel like she's writing more towards the end of because obviously she's 7 to 12 year age bracket. Amazon says 9 to 11, but usually it's kind of 7 to 12 at the extremes. And I feel like she writes more towards the latter end of that. But I think this book's probably accessible for everybody who is within that reading age limit. It's wonderful. It's a fantastic publication from Yearling. Gorgeous cover design, beautiful story. Elsie is a great character, very likeable. You can feel a lot of her emotions. I have no complaints about it. You can probably tell, very passionate about this book. Queenie might be one of my top 10 favourite Jacqueline Wilson books of all time.